Hello everyone, welcome back to yet another episode of Tabletop Shampoo. And this time, we're here to give you our favorite items from the Secrets of Magic book for Pathfinder 2e. Here to host, I'm Vanish.
And I'm Primate Pimpin'. Maybe you were interested in picking up the Secrets of Magic book, but didn't know if there will be anything your character wants in it. We're here to tell you that there are some great items in this book, and some pretty cool spells too.
The spells are coming in a separate video. Possibly several videos.
In this vid, we're covering must-have items to really soup up your character, whether they're spellcasters or martial classes. That's right, there's some good material in there for everyone.
But before we dive in, please go ahead and hit those like and subscribe buttons if you want to see us create even more content for our favorite tabletop role-playing game right now, Pathfinder 2e. But without further ado, let's see the intro.
Okay, starting out, we got a must-have item for combat casters. We're talking about the Shadow Signet. This is a level 10 magical ring with the evocation trait that reads, this obsidian ring allows you to partially warp your spells through the shadow plane, allowing them to strike directly at a target's body. As a free action, you can activate the ring as a meta magic command. If your next action is to cast a spell that requires a spell attack roll against armor class, choose Fortitude DC or Reflex DC. You make your spell attack roll against that defense instead of the AC. If the spell has multiple targets, the choice of the DC applies to all of them. I have been waiting for an item like this, and Paizo finally gave me what I've been wishing for. If you watched our earlier video about building a blaster mage, you know some of my complaints about the lack of itemization for spellcasters to help them hit AC. They scale horribly in comparison to martial classes, which means that when you're fighting the big bad, expect your sword-wielding teammates to hit more consistently than you. And that's terrible if you consider your attacks often take up 2 actions and a spell slot. This item helps fix that huge downside. Being able to target a DC instead of their AC means you can play towards wherever you think they are weakest, which you can learn through knowledge checks against the monster, or just seeing how they do against other spells. Even though it takes up your meta magic slot for the spell, we think Shadow Signet is very important if you're trying to hit AC, and almost all spellcasters should likely pick this item up at level 10.
Okay, next up we have Grimoires. They are a type of magical item that represents a magical spellbook. Like your normal spellbooks, Grimoires hold your spells up to 100, but tied to each grimoire is a special effect that augments your spellcasting. Some of these come in the form of a meta magic ability, like the Summoning Hand Scroll, allowing your conjuration spells prepared from the grimoire to summon creatures with 10 additional temporary hit points. Some are reactions, like from the Storyteller's Opus, which allows you to quickly convince someone your illusion is actually real with a deception check. The last type of grimoire, my personal favorite, gives you static buffs. The Endless Grimoire can hold an infinite number of spells. It also grants you a +1 item bonus to checks to learn a spell. It also allows you to prepare an additional first level spell every day. This scales up into the Greater, Major, and True Endless Grimoires, increasing the bonus to learn a spell as well as giving higher level spells to prepare. Ultimately, Grimoires make a great addition to any prepared caster's equipment. There's literally no downside to having one, besides paying the gold. They provide you with decent upside that can add a lot of flavor to what your character loves to do, whether it be harmful necromancy spells or fire evocation magic. Plenty of new toys for your blaster mage to play with.
Moving on, we have a new item for martial classes, the Extending Rune. It's a level 9 item that you affix to your weapon. It allows you to activate the rune using 2 actions, striking a target with a reach of 60 feet. Clearly, the applications for this are enormous. You now have a way to effectively make a range attack with your melee weapon while still using all class feats that specify melee strikes. There are many situations in which this is useful, like when you're a heavy armor, strength-based martial character and a ranged weapon isn't the best option for you. You might use this rune when running ahead of your party 50+ feet. Isn't a good idea. Maybe terrain is getting in your way, slowing you down, or not letting you get to your target at all. This is especially useful in the case of attacking flying creatures and hovering blaster mages who are doing their best to stay away from the melee. Of course, 2 actions per strike means you really only have 1 try at your attack, so 1 bad roll means you didn't do a whole lot that turn. But we think this rune is definitely worthwhile because of the flexibility it provides, effectively diminishing one of the biggest downsides of being a melee fighter.
And very quickly, we wanted to throw a quick shout out to a couple of other magical items we think that martials should look out for. The Singing Shortbow and the Ouroboros Flail are both items that already have decently sought after runes. Strap on some additional abilities, and these items suddenly exceed what a player would be capable of building on their own. Both weapons have +2 greater striking, something we definitely want, and the Singing Shortbow has the Thundering rune, while the Ouroboros Flail has Extending, the rune we just talked about. The Singing Shortbow shoots arrows that emanate a 10-foot radius of either healing magic magic or sonic damage. The Ouroboros flail can pull creatures in and grab them if they don't pass a fortitude save. It also makes a 60-foot loop of chain to use, which is pretty neat. The Secrets of Magic book is filled with fantastic named magic items such as these, and it's definitely worth checking those items out. In general, you shouldn't take magic items like these unless they contain the runes and base item you were already looking for. Then you get a neat little bonus effect you may or may not use. Otherwise, you'll have to make sure the added ability is worth the loss of the rune you were going to take. Something I feel is the best use for these kind of items is for DMs, who might want to give them out as a unique treasure their players can marvel over. Then they can either use it or sell it if it doesn't exactly suit their needs. Beats giving them straight gold if you ask me.
Okay, moving right along, Paizo has given us another cycle of Apex items. In case you aren't aware of what these are, they're supposed to represent powerful in-game items that will boost your stats. When you invest an item that has the Apex trait, it improves one of your ability scores by 2, or to a total of 18. You get this boost until you uninvest the item. You can invest another Apex item, but you won't gain the ability score increase, though you gain other effects of investing the item. Paizo came out with the first cycle of Apex items in the player's handbook. We thought that they were alright, they're decently strong because they should be, but we all agree that this new cycle of Apex items blows the old items out of the water. For example, let's look at the Belt of Giant Strength, the Apex item from the player's handbook. We see the Apex stat bonus for strength, as well as the +3 item bonus to athletics, and a +2 circumstance bonus to lift a heavy object, escape, and force open. Not too bad, but the activated ability triggers on you being hit by a rock, specifically a rock. You get to try and catch the rock if you happen to have a free hand, like this is basketball.
Hey dog, pass me the rock.
In contrast, Titan's Grasp gives the same +3 bonus to athletics, but only +1 to grappling. If you grapple an enemy that is larger than you, you deal bludgeoning damage equal to your strength modifier, plus an additional 2d6 if you crit. Your activated ability lets you spend an action to clap the gauntlets together like your Wonder Woman, and deal 6d10 sonic damage in a 30-foot cone, prompting a fort save. As you can see, the Titan's Grasp feels much more relevant than its brother, the Belt of Giant Strength. There's a large gap in price to represent this improvement though, the Belt of Giant Strength only costing 15,000 gold and the Titan's Grasp costing 24,000 gold. Of course, pick whatever item you think suits your character the best and what seems to be the most fun to you, catching rocks or, doing damage. Paizo gives us more choices to boost our main stat. This is a good thing, but we encourage you to make comparisons between the first and the second cycle of Apex items and see if you agree with us about the new items being so much better. If you don't or see something we missed, let us know in the comments.
Next up, we are talking about Thieves' tools. Various professions in the world of Pathfinder require the professional to carry around their equipment. For thieves, this comes in the form of Thieves' tools used for picking locks. Eventually, you would upgrade these to Infiltrator's tools, which gives you a +1 item bonus to pick locks and disable devices at the cost of 50 gold pieces. Well, Paizo is allowing us to have some focus. Instead of getting a bonus to disable devices, we can keep just the bonus for picking locks and magically create a key every time we successfully pick a lock. This key lasts for 12 hours, or until we make another one, and can be used to lock or unlock the door we just picked. Maybe you are planning a heist, so you make a key for a door early in the day while the building is populated, and then sneak back in at night with a key all ready to go. There are many great possibilities with this item, and it only costs 5 more gold than Infiltrator's tools, running us 55 gold. It's worth checking out to see if your professional tool set was given a magic variant, to see if you prefer using those instead, especially since the price difference seems nominal at best.
Okay, we can't end a video about items in Secrets of Magic without talking about personal staves. When I first saw that they had written rules for staves in this book, I was excited. Yeah, there were some rules in the game mastery guide, but they were only available through discussion with your DM. There wasn't something in a player source book that let us craft our own staves until now. The idea of crafting a staff personal to how you cast spells would be any spellcaster's dream, but Paizo really dropped the ball on this one. Paizo handcuffed our creativity by making sure every spell on the staff had the same trait. At first I thought, hey, this is okay, this is fine, that you had to have spells all from the same school of magic, but then I read the fine print saying traits like incapacitation and spell schools and traditions were too broad. They even thought GM should add more restrictions to the list, which is ridiculous. There are simply not enough spells with similar traits to put on a staff that you would even want. You even run into spells that fit a theme well, but don't have the matching traits. Of course, you could ask your GM to remove this restriction and make the staff creation better, but if you're going that far, just ask them to let you use the rules from the game mastery guide on magic item creation. Those rules are better anyway. Even the reasons they give for this trait restriction doesn't make sense. They said that broad traits like schools of magic won't work, but there are several staves that already exist where the only connecting trait is the school.
Yeah, but those staves are pre-made and can't be altered. They're already Paizo approved.
Even still, the way they hemmed in creating personal staves is just too stifling.
I can kind of see what they're going for though. I think a lot of what Paizo is trying to do with their releases this past year and a half is future-proof their rules. They don't want to run into the case of power creep too quickly. These rules for personal staves might seem smothering now, but as they release more and more spells, it will open up and become more reasonable. If it's opened up now, it won't become a problem in the future for sure. Plus, this is just their official stance on it, and I think it's better to be on the safe side in that regard. Paizo probably assumes that home games are going to house rule whatever they want, and GMs that want their players to have more broken rules will do so. But this protects Paizo from having to make erratas in the future, and it protects DMs who don't want that kind of power creep from having to make a choice of restricting a rule set. If a DM makes a house rule removing restrictions, players love them. If a DM adds restrictions, they can be viewed as a villain. It's better for Paizo to be on the safe side here.
Well, you know me. I don't play RPGs to play safe. I want all the options. I want Paizo to give me more choices, more customability, and they took all that away from me. I want to do it all. I want it all.
Well, you'll have to ask your DM then.
I definitely will.
Okay, well, that wraps up that video. Were there items you think we missed? Do you think some we mentioned are actually bad? Let us know in the comments, and please like and subscribe for more Pathfinder 2e content and tabletop shampoo goodness. Don't forget to use your hero points, and we'll see you next time.